with breaking news.
This, in fact, was the largest single-site enforcement operation in the history of Homeland Security investigations.
Breaking right now at noon, 475 people detained in a large-scale raid by Homeland Security, ICE, and other agencies at a construction site in South Georgia. I'm Brooks Baptiste.
Good afternoon. I'm Cyria Sandlin. This happened Thursday at the Hyundai mega site in Ellabelle, which is in Bryan County. Federal officials calling it the largest single-site operation in the history of Homeland Security operations. The site, located about 30 miles outside of Savannah, the raid happened at Hyundai's battery construction site on the South Korean company's mega site. Homeland Security officials says the operation involved multiple federal agencies, including U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Border Patrol, and the FBI. Homeland Security says this raid stemmed from an ongoing months-long criminal investigation. Hundreds of workers detained. The majority of them, according to Homeland Security, are Korean nationals.
Some that illegally crossed the border into the United States, some that came in through visa waiver and were prohibited from working, some that had visas and overstayed their visas.
No charges were immediately announced. Homeland Security says those 475 detainees were sent to the ICE processing center in Folkestone.